This conference will now be recorded.
Beginning now. So welcome everybody to the NWBA webinar series, which is presented by ABC Medical, who's helped us with the webinar series over this last year as a great partner bringing valuable content to all of our NWBA members, current and future. This webinar series is on how to measure sports chairs. And we're really excited to have another partner in RGK, who's been a partner with the NWBA for the last year plus. And they've come in and been building great relationships throughout the country and really getting their product out there. We've got a couple presenters with us today. The first one is Alan Manzel. Alan is RGK Wheelchairs advisor and has been working with them for 3.5 years. Loves his job working with people and helping improve lives and independence for customers and providing the best equipment for their daily needs and sporting needs. Manzel's been disabled since birth and has been involved in sports from a very young age, so he really knows this product. He's tried most sports and competed in competitions at regional level as well as internationally. He's trained and played with the Great Britain squad from the age of 15. We won't talk about GB versus USA right now, but he's played with Team GB and was very lucky to have moved into coaching with the GB juniors and the men's team as well. So brings not only the athlete perspective, but also the coaching point of view, as well as from an administrator, has run a team since the age of 18. And he has basketball as a way of life and a passion for a very long time. So we're really excited to have Alan here bringing his depth of expertise on this topic and on the sport in general. Our second presenter is Lee Fawcett, who's worked with RGK for almost 6 years as a daily and sports mobility advisor. So we call them everyday chairs, they call them dailies in the UK. And Fawcett is a two-time Paralympic athlete, having competed in wheelchair basketball and wheelchair fencing at both the Sydney Games in 2000 and Beijing Games in 2008. He first made his international debut in wheelchair basketball at the '97 Junior World Championships in Toronto, Canada. I think Pat Anderson might have played in those as well, who's an RGK ambassador. Lee's a class 1.0 player. And since he retired from international sport in 2012, he successfully set up a wheelchair basketball club in the northeast of England, formerly known as the Tees Valley Titans, now the Tees Valley Mohawks. He's a T6 para and got injured in 1992 due to a medical operation that was unsuccessful. Since then, he's opened many doors. Sport opened many doors for him, and it's been a great rehabilitation tool for him. And his biggest success is his family. He's been a very busy guy in his 15 years of marriage with 5 kids and a happy wife, apparently. But this topic is super important for us here at the NWBA. One of the things we hear the most from athletes and parents, as well as program administrators, is the importance of getting the chairs right. And we've really heard a lot of horror stories related to the amount of investment that goes into a chair and how long you have to deal with a chair that might be mismeasured. So it's super important as we listen to all of our members, whether you be an administrator or a parent or an athlete, that we try to bring content that we think is going to help solve problems that you have. And we couldn't think of anyone better than RGK and Alan and Lee to come onto this call today and share with us their insights. They've got a really meticulous process that we've observed at nationals as they've done measurements for people, and we wanted them to share those critical factors of a sports chair measurement. And really happy to have you, Alan and Lee, and with that, I'll turn it over to the two of you.
Okay, thanks very much. So just going to give a short rundown. So you've already mentioned who I am, and so I've been involved with basketball myself 23 years already, which is quite amazing. Had lots of experiences, been all over the world, so I've been very lucky with that. I ran my own club for 17 years, as you mentioned, also lucky enough to have trained with the Great Britain squad and played with those guys, and then coaching, moving into coaching for a short period. Lucky enough to be at the national finals last year to come and see what was going on in America. Really enjoyed the experience of coming out to see you guys and the gameplay and the ferocity of how you guys get really stuck in at your national finals. It was really good to see. Just going to get a little rundown on RGK. RGK was founded in 1988, okay, with the vision to positively change the way wheelchair users would live forever by creating made-to-measure chairs that were light and reliable in order to improve independence and quality. All of our customer advisors are wheelchair users. This gives us a unique perspective, we believe, in challenging the conventional, breaking down barriers and empowering people, the freedom to explore, to push further, to maximize your potential and say achieve your goals. And there's our prime motivator as a company and what we're looking to achieve for people. Just going to start in a moment. We're going to talk about our products and the different chairs that we've got within our range and kind of cover them sort of things first. So just bear with me because I've never done this part before. I'm just going to try and put my screen up for yourselves. Okay. I hope you guys can all see that. Okay. So first things first, I just want to talk about our different range of sports chairs that we have. The Elite CX is our most advanced product. This uses a carbon fiber seating system. And what that does, it gives you a real great connection between the chair and the player. So you're really getting a great responsiveness from the chair in the way that it maneuvers, the way that it handles, because you're so well connected to the chair with the carbon seating system. Gives great response to your body movement, hip movement, so for tilting and going up, blocking shots, and kind of the maneuverability of the chair is second to none with the Elite CX. It's a really great chair. It is kind of, I would aim the Elite CX more towards the mid to high point players. We have used it very occasionally on some lower point players, but it is very specific in the way that it seats you. And it's not for everybody. Not everyone will like it. But certainly the high point players, so Terry Bywater from the Great Britain squad, Dirk Pastovan from the German squad, are both using the Elite CX chair, and absolutely getting a great performance from it. The weight of the Elite CX is 9.2 kilograms. Okay, it's got an A10 heat-treated frame. It comes with ceramic bearings. And one of our things we have in our frames is called the tri-frame design. So this really greatly improves the distribution of energy, the stresses of the real kind of elite level gameplay. It's probably the highest performing product within our range. It really is one of those for the elite player. Although the other players have used it, but it's really aimed at the elite player. So I'm just going to move on to the Elite X. Just bear with me. Dirk Pastovan, Terry Bywater, players that use the Elite CX seats. The Elite X is our lightest basketball product due to the X technology. What this is the carbon fiber axle. Really is incredibly stiff and gives the chair great rigidity. Also with the side guards, this makes it the lightest chair. Makes it incredibly maneuverable and responsive. It's probably fast becoming our most popular basketball chair due to the performance gains you really get from that. From some of our other models, we really get a real high performance from the tri-frame again on this one. The tri-frame design helps to distribute that weight and the movement of the chair, so that when you get in turns and tilting, the stresses are moving around that frame and making that chair really top quality, and kind of all your movement is improved in that chair. So I must admit, I've used the chair myself. It's an absolutely amazing chair. I had the Elite before, superb chair. but the Elite X is a pretty amazing piece of kit. 8.7 kilograms, so lighter than the CX chair. So A10 heat treated frame again with the ceramic bearings in there. Pat Anderson, we all know who that is. He's using the Elite X, and it's a fantastic chair. He loves it. And Phil Pratt from our Great Britain squad, one of our young stars, who uses the Elite X, and he's getting great performance from that chair. Just gonna, so there's Phil in his chair. So you're gonna have a little look at Phil. The one thing with the Elite X is it is very versatile. So this would be a chair that you would use for low pointers right up to the high point players. We can look at seating positions. There's a lot of adjustability in what we can do with our frames. As Lee was going to mention when he comes on, was to talk about the measurements and the over 30 measurements we take on our chairs, and we really do kind of take time to tailor make that chair made to measure. So really kind of we get the very, very best performance out of that chair. Okay, just going to move on to Elite now. So the Elite is our real core basketball chair. It was released for the London 2012 Paralympics. It's certainly been our most successful chair in that we had 29% of the players in Rio were using the Elite chair. Okay, this was partly due to its weight and performance of that chair and just how well it performs. It's a top quality chair. Again, very, very versatile, with all levels of players using the Elite chair, from kind of players that really want to start performing and kind of getting the very best out of their chair. As their game's developing and they're really pushing themselves on to the next level, this is a fabulous chair for taking that next step, we believe. Same sort of systems as the other one with the tri-frame, aluminium, 70/20 aluminium, absolute top quality aluminium that is heat treated. It has a unique frame design with a straight camber bar. This gives it amazing rigidity and performance, so we really get in the best movement, turning circles with that Elite frame. Anderson there in an Elite initially before we moved him on, and he's moved on to the Elite X. Still love the chair, love the performance that he got from that chair. Wanted to go for the lightness of the Elite X and get that little bit more responsiveness from the chair. So that's one of the main reasons why he moved on to the Elite X. Next one we come on to is our RGK ALLSTAR chair. So this is kind of aimed at the club chair, new player, developing player, someone who would need to perhaps find their center of gravity, their axial position. The good thing with this chair is it's got some adjustment within it that you can choose to have an adjustable seat position, back post position, which will allow you to change your center of gravity. So being a new developing player, it's very difficult to kind of find that optimum performance where you're going to get really good turning, really good movement, balance within the chair. You know, the axles being too far forward can make that chair very, very tippy, or not tippy, but can make it difficult to control if that axle's too far forwards. If it's too far backwards, some people might feel they want to get a little bit more responsiveness, so they'll move it forward. So having that ability to change that center of gravity is a real nice feature on the ALLSTAR chair. Backrest height, again, players sometimes need to work on. They might need to start with a slightly higher back, perhaps work on core muscles and things like that to see if they can improve that, give themselves a little bit more range of movement within the back. And because we've got that a little bit of adjustability on the back height again. This one again comes with a foot plate height, because again, another way that a player might want to kind of just try some different things is having the knee height slightly higher, so they're pushing back through the knees more, or having a lower set foot position. This is a fantastic chair. I mean, I wish this chair was around when I kind of started, because it's very hard to find that optimum chair position and kind of and how you want to play. This chair is a kind of step up from your beginner chair. It really moves into kind of, let's get some performance going now, but still with some adjustability to find out how you want to play your game. Made of the same aluminium, 7020 aluminium as the Elite chair. So it's a very high quality material, and certainly it's very competitively valued. So it's a good option, really great option for kind of those clubs, those new developing players that are coming through in the game. Last chair I'm going to just talk about, just last one, is the club sport. So this is the only standard chair that really the RGK do on the basketball side of things. It does come in set sizes with slightly different angles of seat, there's different sizes of wheels, different size lengths of frame. So you can kind of use this chair for new beginners, new players that are coming into the game that just want to get started. They need to have something that's going to get them into the game and involved. And this is a fantastic chair for that, for those clubs that want to perhaps bulk buy or have a multi order potentially of different chairs. Because of the value of these, we can do these really good value, and they're adjustable, an adjustable axle, adjustable foot plate. It is a steel frame chair that is incredibly strong and certainly will last a long time with very little maintenance. So again, this is another fabulous chair to use. Okay, so I'm just going to move on to the last bit. So not the last bit, but so some top tips for measuring is to certainly take your time with every measurement, thinking about what you're trying to achieve for that player. Understanding the customer's and player's sitting position in their current chair and any tweaks or changes they might want to make to that chair. Certainly when I'm doing an assessment, I will go into a lot of detail really. I want to know about the players, their current chair, the way they push. Sometimes we can look at that if we get the opportunity to do so. Because if you've got a player that's sitting, that will start their push in an upright position, but then when they kind of hit their top speed, they're still more in an upright position than they are with the shoulders forwards. You may have to look at the center of gravity. So there's really a lot of detail across that whole chair, and we'll go into a lot of different questions. Come to that. Lee's going to hopefully join us and cover some of that in a moment. Wheel sizes. Try different chairs if you can. Wheel sizes is a really important choice to make within the basketball chair. If you're basically, the bigger the wheel is, the more power you have to get that wheel going. So it's kind of relative to your size and strength. A bigger wheel will be faster in a straight line, but the start and stop speed and starting speed of a big wheel, it takes a lot of energy to get it going again. Being a player, certainly the game is very much about, obviously start and stop and getting going. Yes, you want the top speed and the top end speed, but look at what your game is about and what you're trying to achieve. Are you someone who's running the floor the whole time, but at the same time you still need that maneuverability and start and stop speeds? That's where the wheel size will become really important. If you're a huge guy, then you can possibly go with the 700 or the 27-inch, the largest wheel. If you've got the power to do that, so that'll be like a 4.5 point player, sometimes a 4. We have got 3.5s that will use that size wheel, but it is really kind of based around the size of that person and whether they can generate that power to get the chair started, stop, and then go again, and stop and go again. So it's really important that we look at choosing the right wheel size for the person. I certainly know from experience when I was at it was the Junior World Championships in Birmingham here in England, and I watched I think it was actually the US junior team. It was a long while ago now, 2005, so it's a long while ago, but the team that was playing at the time, there wasn't a lot of height in the team, but there was a lot of mobility, and it was amazing to watch those guys and how well they managed games and controlled games, considering they didn't have the size and height of some of the other teams. But where they had, I think, believe that they'd gone for, the players had gone for the right kind of wheel sizes, chair setups for them. It allowed them to really kind of get the optimum performance. So yes, they didn't have the height to be there to get all the rebounds, but they were normally there before the other guy because they had a better maneuverable chair. Or they had, the wheel size was spot on for all those players. That's one thing I noticed, was with some of those guys. It's something we do look at with every player. So we have to think about the position you play on court, whether you're a kind of guard or a forward, post player, the type of game you play. We really look into that to kind of optimize the chair setup for you. So with a lower point player, you'd have a deeper bucket system or a dump system on the chair to really kind of aid the posture and the balance of the chair. And then we would look at, as you kind of go up higher throughout the classification, is to look towards raising that position slightly. So you can look at a seat height that will give good reach and kind of good position to get in passing lanes and be a bigger player, but at the same time still really focusing on great mobility. Taller players will tend to sit with a higher seat position, and they may choose to have their legs and their feet in a lower position, so really pushing back through the legs. So an area to really look at is to understand the player you're looking to measure, look at their strengths and their weaknesses, look at their overall classification and disability to see where we can really optimize everything that they've got, so we can really use the strength that they've got in their legs, the strength if they've got power through their legs, power in the hips. So there's different areas of that we can look into. So just bear with me. I've got just to.
Hey, Alan.
Hello.
Will here. Hey, it's Will. I was just curious, if someone were to try to look for those things, how do you try to observe those things and see those factors that you just mentioned a moment ago? How would you advise some of the coaches out there to observe those things in order to make some adjustments, maybe from current chair to future chair?
Okay, so I've been looking at their classification firstly, just to really understand where that player is going to get their power from, where they're going to get their strength from, where they're going to get their balance from. If a player is really struggling to kind of catch, they're showing signs that their backrest height might be too low because they're falling over the backrest. So you might look to think, right, this guy needs more balance because we need to get him slightly lower into the chair. That will offer him more balance. Maybe he might need a back height slightly higher, so he can use that back height to aid him in the game. Trying different chairs, I think, for me, is one of the really good things you can do as a young player, or certainly a developing player, is trying something different, trying some different chair positions, seat positions. Yeah, so look at those different chair positions, seat positions, even wheel size as well. If you've got a guy in your team that's on a 24, let's try and get him into another chair with a similar dump and setup to what he's got, but maybe with a slightly bigger wheel, to see how that works for that guy.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
All right. So just bear with me. I'm going to get. Have to excuse me because I was expecting my colleague Lee to be on here. We kind of worked out who was going to do what on this one, but we'll get through it.
Hey, Alan, while you're navigating the content, another question. I know sometimes people want to try different things, and you talked about getting in different chairs, but if you were making a change, say in seat height or wheel size, do you try to coach people to not make too big of a change from one chair to the next? Maybe like don't go up more than 1 inch or move center of gravity more than a 1/4 inch. Are there certain thresholds that you try not to pass?
Yeah, very, very good point. What we'd look at, certainly I know from my own experience, making big changes or kind of too many changes at any one time. Just bear with me, guys. I've got Lee just ringing me now, so just hold on 1 second. Hi guys, sorry about that. Really apologies. My colleague Lee has just contacted me. He's going to be joining us in a second, so again he can go through some top tips and some detail. So yeah, I wouldn't go changing too many things at once. I think some people will try to change certainly center of gravity, maybe a centimeter, 10 mil, 20 mil, which is say half an inch, 1/4 of an inch even. Adjustments. That's why sometimes having an adjustable chair can be really useful, because you can have an adjustable axle or have the adjustable like the ALLSTAR chair, where we can get 20 millimeters of adjustment in either direction. Say half an inch to an inch of adjustment in either direction. So that's going to give you the ability to find and tweak your position, because as I say, when with center of gravity, certainly it's really important to get that right, because if your start position is slightly lean forwards, yes, you're going to get a good start, but will you still have the same power and kind of drive? So I measured a guy recently, and he starts forwards, but once he gets to speed, he actually starts to sit up and just more pushes mainly with his arms and not with his trunk. So having a center of gravity too far forward really meant that he was losing control at the front end of the chair. So having that center of gravity in the right place is really important. Wheel size, I would change one wheel size from a 24 to a 25, maybe 25 to 26, or even go down the wheel. Don't go up the wheel. Make something smaller to see whether it improves your mobility. Rather than going for a bigger wheel, trying to be big and tall, less mobility.
Hey, Alan, this is Preston from the Charlotte program. I got a question about the center of gravity. And I coach the youth, the juniors teams.
Yep.
What do you recommend? More center of gravity, more in the center, or front, forward, back? Can you explain the difference, I guess?
It's very hard to say. I mean, looking at somebody, what I really look at when I'm kind of looking at someone is when they're pushing the chair or when they're in that real start position, they're going to take that first push, looking at the axle position in relation to where their body is. If you've got too much weight on the over the front of the axle, and kind of you tend to get a better drive with the axle slightly further forwards. But not too far forwards, because if you go too far forwards, the weight is on the back casters, and you don't want the weight to be on the back when you're having that start position and that powerful drive out from the first few pushes. You want the weight to be over the front of the casters. You don't want it to be over the back. So if someone was pushing and you could see that their start position, they're going immediately onto the back axle or the back casters, I would suggest you probably need to adjust that and bring that axle position backwards slightly if you can, or even just say bring them further forward in the chair, so it just distributes their weight over the front of the chair a little bit more. So you get a slightly better drive. You get a better drive that way.
If I can just add to that,
Yeah.
well, good morning from us guys, and good evening to you guys. Sorry I've joined late. Obviously a mix up on the time there. So my name's Lee Fawcett. I'm one of the advisors as well at RGK Wheelchairs. And it's a good question. A lot in the current players, they're all sort of going quite aggressive with their centre of gravity, their wheels forward. I'm a little bit old school, and I like to know that, the chair's got a lot of control. So I like to sort of try and keep a nice firm, nice balance on the wheel, sort of on the COG. As soon as the players of today are catching the ball, you can instantly see when their centre of gravity is forward, aggressive, they're losing control straight away with the hands off the wheels. So obviously when they're cocking the shot and they're ready to fire the shot, then the chair balance is all over the place. And you'll see some of the older guys who's probably been playing 20 years, still stay quite safe on their centre of gravity, but certainly the new generation are pushing the boundaries quite a lot, as we see in the international players as well.
So when I'm watching players taking layups and kind of catching passes on a layup lane at speed, are they still able to catch that pass, keep their lane and control the chair when they're going in for the layup and things like that? That's one. I think you see that quite often in layups when people are missing. It's, can they get their body in the right position? Does the chair go to kind of run away from them when they're catching the ball? When they're taking a push to the basket and things like that, you start to see that. You might want to tweak that center of gravity backwards, possibly.
Perfect. Thanks, guys.
No worries. We got any more questions coming from anybody? So I'm just going to see if I can find a couple of questions that I was sent earlier by one of my colleagues.
Hey guys, while you're looking for one of those other questions, maybe I'd like to jump in. We've got, out of our 2,400 athletes, we have about 850 who are youth. Do you have a firm point of view on youth getting their first chair as an adjustable chair so that you can really fine-tune these areas? An adjustable chair is a little bit cheaper. You can also tweak it a little bit more and really see what the function of the athlete is going to become. Do you really guide parents and programs to go with adjustable for the first chair?
You want to take this one, Lee?
Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah. Well, it's a very good point. We certainly would go and advise parents to go with adjustable chairs. It is a cheaper chair. One of the chairs we do now, and it has full adjustable center of gravity, adjustable backrest height, foot plate, and that's the thing that are really important as the youths grow. The legs are going to grow, so they're going to need to have that ability to lower that foot plate. We use a lot of bit with a dump and the bucket, certainly for the low pointers. We have around usually for a 1 pointer, like someone like myself, we'd go with like a 4-inch bucket. But we can always sort of adjust that up by sagging the seat upholstery down, or if they need to be a little bit higher and take a little less dump out of that, we can raise that up by putting padding underneath the cushion as well. But certainly in terms of the growth of the widths and the seat width, what we would always do is we would probably make the chair, around about a centimetre wider than their hips are at the current time. But then what we would do is fill that in with spacer pads. So it's still a nice feel, snug fit, so they can still have the responsiveness of the chair. But then as they grow and fill out, you can remove them pads. So certainly there's a lot. We would certainly, have an adjustable chair right until I would say around about, 14 or 15-year-old is when they start to look at being more of a fixed and more of a welded chair.
I mean, just adding on to that with Lee, as I mentioned earlier when I was talking about the different chairs, I kind of wish that the RGK ALLSTAR chair was around when I first started. because I kind of went from a very basic chair, and I wanted to kind of progress and try new things. So I went up to an elite chair quite quickly. But having that ability to have a little bit of adjustment in axle position, foot plate position as I was growing and changing kind of shape. For myself, being a very big but a 2.5 point player, back height was a real one that was important for me. So certainly not going too low and having that ability to have some adjustment is certainly really useful.
And your adjustable chair, you said, Alan and Lee, that's the ALLSTAR chair, right?
Yeah, that's the ALLSTAR chair, which is really good because it's still a 7 series aluminium chair, so you've still got the lightweight chair, which is the same material as the elite chair. So it's still lightweight. There's 2 ways you can have an adjustable axle on it. So you could have it on the side guard where we could move the seat backwards and forwards. So the axle's actually still fixed, so we can set a position of where we feel that they need that axle position to be. But you've got that 30 millimeters either side that you can go forward or back on that. So it is a really good chair to still have that light feel about it.
And just for the people who are going to watch this video after the fact, which we get a lot of people to come back and watch these videos, how would somebody go about getting measured for an RGK? Obviously, you guys will be at nationals, but how would somebody who's interested in learning more about an RGK and your process, what would that process be with you guys and Jacob at How I Roll Sports?
Well, the process and ordering was obviously all go through Jacob at How I Roll Sports there. What we also can do is provide you guys with an email address. I think it's info@rgkwheelchairs.com. So if there's any sort of queries that we can answer after this call, they can come through to there and come directly through to me and Al and some of the other advisors over here, and we can help guide through that process. We have a measure and sort of assessment form as well that we can email people out, where it sort of gives a little bit of an idea of in terms of classification points of seating positions and seating heights, what you'd need to look at, and gives you a bit of a range. So it's a bit of an average what we've found for different classifications in terms of different measurements. So it's a really good guide of how if someone was measuring their own chair, for instance, it's a good guide for themselves. But if someone was going to do the order, then obviously that would go through Jacob, How I Roll Sports.
And after they submit that documentation and provide you with certain questions, is there any form of a virtual measurement, or I guess you get on the phone to go through a Q&A or a Zoom call to help them work through the details? Or, I mean, I assume if it gets really close to nationals, you'd say, come meet us at Wichita, we'll have a booth.
Yeah, well, that's exactly. I mean, there's nothing better than being there in person, and certainly at nationals, if people can come and see us then, and we can do it with them. And obviously, they can get in an RGK and try the chair as well, which is certainly the best way. They can see the difference, and we might have some chairs there that have got them aggressive COGs, where if they've been sitting on the fence and wanting to move them wheels forward a little bit, at least they can try one of them out at nationals. And but yeah, that's probably the better way. But there is options of possibly connecting on a virtual. I've done a couple of things with someone in the US. It was for a tennis chair, not a basketball chair, but they sent me sort of the spec and some virtual videos, and I sent them back. So we can assist definitely across the pond, and that's, if anything, COVID's learnt us as how to use virtual really well. So we're doing that even in the UK at the moment. So yeah, definitely we could do something like that.
I'm not sure if any questions have come in on the chat. I obviously can keep going just based off of my own experiences and whatnot, but maybe we'll open it up for other people on the call to see if there's any questions from others.
Yeah, if anyone on the call's got any questions, just speak up, fire them at me, and I'll answer them.
Just very quickly,
Well, Lee,
sorry.
I was just gonna mention to Lee that you gave some top tips for measurement. So I was just curious, like Lee, maybe you can jump in and say, what are the biggest don'ts, the things that you would recommend people not to do when ordering their first chair or a renewal, a new chair? What are the things that you would say that they should not do?
The main thing probably not to do from their current chair is move too far away from the measurements that they're already in. Usually when we're, assessing someone, the tweaks will only be like 1 centimeter here, 1 centimeter there. Obviously, if they want to go, one of the good things we do at RGK is the ergonomics of seat taper. So, for instance, you might be in a sort of a normal club chair, or a chair that wasn't maybe made to measure for yourself, that is a little bit wider at the front of the knees, or is a little bit wider with the taper. So you can sort of go a little bit more aggressive on that on your sort of second chair, and taper it really in at the front. Make sure it's a good feel at the side of your legs to get everything sort of snug there. The main ones is, well, you could even go a little bit more and get a snugger fit. The main things for me is, is don't jump up wheel sizes too early. For instance, if someone's on 24s, I've had it before where someone's want to jump from 24s up to 26-inch wheels, and there's a big change there. So when you look at that and when we assess, we've got to make sure that someone's strong enough and has got enough power to be able to handle the rise in the wheel size. And also the COG. The COG is the main one. Even 1 centimeter difference of going aggressive on that can lose control of the chair. So you've got to be careful of going too far forward too much. And of course, you've got to remember, if you do want a little bit more spin on the chair, you could always sag your backrest upholstery and get yourself more into the chair a bit more to get your shoulders behind the wheels anyway. So in your current chair, that's what you could try and test on, for it to be that way in the first place, which will give you an idea of, actually I can move forward a bit. So yeah, they're the big don't. The big don't there is don't go too aggressive from your current setup too early. You really got to think about what you want to do and try. The best thing is to try other people's chair. Maybe it's at your club. So get in a chair where you feel, I think, but don't just sit in it. Get on the court, pushing it, catch a ball in it, shoot a layup in it. These are all the main things that you got to try before making them extra jumps.
Just going to add a little tiny bit on that, Lee, with just kind of regards young players, because I think sometimes people look at the classification of that youngster and kind of go, well, they're going to sit tall, they're going to sit big, they're going to be, dad's 6'4", but they're still like 12 years old or 14 years old, and people say, oh, I want a chair that's going to last me a long time, and they'll jump straight into a much larger wheel size than they probably should do, because having mobility, having movement on the court with a smaller wheel is certainly going to be much more important, I think, than trying to go big and get too tall too quickly. Because I've seen too many young players that kind of have too big a wheel size and really struggle to develop their game because they're pushing something that's just far too big for them.
Or even if someone doesn't have full trunk control and they try to sit them up at full height, and the same thing happens, they don't really ever optimize their game because they've never been set up in a chair that is the right height. So an inch of dump sometimes makes a big difference for someone who's got a T10 injury, as an example.
Yeah, definitely. And what we would do is obviously I run a club over here, and well, yeah, we get kids in from 10-year-old, and there may be a high pointer like a 4-5 straight away, but we would always sit them low to develop their basketball handling skills first. And some people want to come in and just want to be sitting tall because they feel it's easier to score a basket being closer to the basket. However, they're not able to develop their ball skills. So sitting them low, even if the classification isn't that from the beginning, even if it's just for a year or so, will really develop them. And once they move up to the higher chair, they've already developed the game in terms of the basketball handling skills and the shooting. So it's just a little bit more of a conversion going to the higher chair. We have a kid who's really talented at the moment. He's been in a small chair probably for the last 2.5 years since he was 10. Now he's sort of coming to 13. He's ready now to move to that bigger chair now. So but he's developed his game now. He's really ball skills, and that's all great. So we're hoping he can just transfer that now to a higher chair. Did you have some questions, Al, that had been fired across before?
Well, one thing I was just going to mention, because we hadn't mentioned it already, is one part was where we can kind of have some fun with the chair. We can certainly do all different. There's a massive variety of frame colors, accents on the chairs that kind of add a real nice contrast between your frame and the accents, which would be like caster forks, hubs and rims on the wheels, spokes. Certainly embroidery, we can do lots of different designs of embroidery on the chair, so you can really kind of make your chair your own as well. So there's something we can do, and we do quite a lot of here in the RGK over in the UK. Just a question I sent over: what parts do you need to replace frequently on an RGK chair or any other chair? So tires in the tubes potentially are probably the most frequent, with potentially bearings and casters, although I know a lot of people don't change them that often. But they'll probably be the first things that would be looking to change on a chair. What other questions have I got there? Do you want to just touch on the frame heights, Lee, with the kind of the high point players was sit at 21 inches, I believe, in America?
Yeah. So obviously, I think I've touched on it earlier, like a lower pointer. On average, we'd usually see a 1 point player, sit at around a 4-inch bucket. So that's meaning the front height is 4 inches higher than the rear seat height. So and also what we do on our RGK chairs, we do a thing called ergo seat. So from where the pelvis is, we have a flat part of the seat, which is really good for posture, and obviously sits the pelvis into a position. So sometimes when you're playing and you've got sort of a big dump in your seat, you're stretching for balls, your backside can end up slipping forward if your strapping's not tight enough. What the ergo seat does is keeps your pelvis in that position. So it's a really good feature on our chair that we hold that in place, and then the dump starts going up. So with that dump sort of moves up as the classification point moves up. So someone who's a maybe 3-pointer, they maybe won't even sit with any dump. They may be on a flat seat as well, on a 4-inch cushion, for instance. Or we may have 2.5 guards that maybe on only a 2-inch dump, and then you get up to the sort of the max height, which is 21 inches of max height for your higher point players.
Okay. Just one thing I wanted to mention as well, guys. I know obviously in America you have the CAF grants, CAF grants. The RGK is a vendor for the chairs, so the preferred vendor for CAF grants. We are one of the preferred vendors, so we provide chairs for that.
I'm just looking at a question here, Al, from I think it's Marcos. It says, Lee, I'm a double amputee and I'll always have bounce on the front wheels. How I would resolve this? I'm classified as 1 point player. With the bounce on the front wheels, I'm assuming there's a bit of a rock in your chair, so as you're pushing, you maybe pushing more on your anti-tip wheels, and the front is bouncing up. What you can do on this is you can adjust the rear wheels down, so the gap at the back is very minimal. I think the standard is 1 centimeter that we have. So when you seat in your chair, there should be just a 1 centimeter gap with your weight forward on the rear casters. You can actually adjust the back wheels and bring that closer to the floor. So then when you're taking that first push, there's not that initial tip back, that initial rock in your chair, which is obviously a disadvantage to having that rock anyway, because your first push, you can't really get that first push. You can sometimes get a bit of spin on your rear wheels, so there'll be a bit of a skid wheel spin before you get going. So it's important to tweak around with your anti-tip wheels. A lot of people like the rock. They like to sort of shoot so they fall back onto their back wheel. But for pushing wise, less rock is better. So just adjust them back wheels, Marcos, and I think that should hopefully help that.
Lee and Alan, this is Jacob. I just wanted to make one valid point if I could,
Of course.
real quick with how I roll sports. I just want to make a valid point. You guys just started introducing the option to do a rush CAD drawing. So if there's someone who's interested in an RGK or maybe another chair, a valid fact is that you do a 48-hour CAD drawing. So basically, if someone wanted a chair very soon, it's about 5 to 6 weeks if you rush the CAD. Once the CAD's approved, it's only about 4 weeks build time. Whereas, there's other options that can take 6, 8 months depending on the lead time. So for someone on the fence not knowing which chair they want, that's definitely a valid thing to consider, which is the lead times are relatively quick with RGK.
Yeah, that's a good point, Jacob. And actually now we can even do the CAD, before order if needed. If someone's really unsure about the way they want and they don't want to commit
Right.
that initial thing, we can get a CAD drawn if them guys come through yourself, get the measurement, we can get the CAD done straight away back to yourself, and then just as peace of mind, people like to see that CAD before the.
Absolutely. It looks exactly like the chair will be. The bends all look to spec. So, the fact that you even offer a CAD that can be adjusted multiple times and approved, it really lets people see what they're going to get and make minor tweaks before it actually goes to build. So that's huge. And then the only other thing I wanted to mention was you guys are in the UK, so you're kind of across the pond, but we do have parts here, whatever parts people do need here. That shouldn't really be a concern because we've made a point to make sure that whatever spare parts, whether they're casters or the bearings or specific RGK titanium screws, that we kind of keep all those parts here. So if someone does need them, usually all those parts are available pretty quick for shipping within the U.S. So that's not really an issue if someone had concerns about needing replacement parts.
Yeah, like I said, Jacob, everything can, we supply everything through yourself, so people can go for you for spare parts, tires, everything that's on an RGK. Obviously, you can get through how I roll sports. Just to add on to the CAD as well, we're developing it a little bit further forward now. That if someone wants to request an actual 3D drawing of the picture of the chair as well, with the colors and stuff, we can actually even sort of do that now. So you can actually see a pretty much real life 3D picture of your chair.
Well, Lee and Alan and Jacob, one thing that I think would be helpful, we can summarize a couple of these key points that you guys have made, such as the the lead time for a chair, the CAD drawing, which is computer-aided design, the fact that you're approved through the CAF grants. We can summarize these for folks, get it out to our members so that they're aware of what it is. We can partner on some of that. But, you know, again, the way I started this was by saying the cost of a mismeasurement is so great, both from an experience perspective. It gives the kids a bad experience. It gives the parents a bad investment of their money. And we really appreciate you making the time to share your expertise and knowledge about some of the do's and don'ts, because at the end of the day, we want to give people the best experience possible. So we appreciate you guys dialing in at 1:30 in the morning in the UK and staying on for an hour with us to share your expertise. It really means a lot to us.
Yeah, just from our point, thanks for having us. You know, it's exciting for us to sort of be coming as a business into the US, and I missed the Nationals last year, and I'm certainly looking forward to coming over there and seeing all the talent that I was told what was at your Nationals game. So thanks for having us, and I look forward to meeting you all one day.
Great. And we couldn't do this without the support of ABC Medical, so we really appreciate them hosting this webinar series on our behalf, and we'll look forward to speaking with everyone soon. Thanks to everyone for joining.
Thanks everyone so much. Cheers for joining us.
Thank you. Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.